Hello and welcome to AWS Academy Cloud Security Foundations course. In this series of videos, I am going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to complete the lab exercises within the course. Today, we will start with Lab 3.1 using resource-based policies to secure S3 bucket. As you can see, the UI interface for the lab environment is slightly different than the one that we have used during the architecture course. To start a lab, click on Start Lab. A pop-up window will not be displayed. Instead, here we will have a yellow icon indicating that the environment is in creation. Wait until it turns to green. So wait several minutes. When the icon turns into green, that means that the lab environment is ready. Next, click on AWS Details. And for this exercise, we are not going to use the default lab user account. In fact, we are going to use an IAM user, dev user, to log in into the console. So copy the URL beside IAM user login URL and open a new browser window, paste into the address bar, press enter, and you will notice that the account ID will be pre-populated. Enter dev user as the username and select the password beside the IAM user password, copy it and paste it into the password field and click on sign in. Once you're signed in, making sure that you're actually logged in as dev user and the default region is North Virginia. Resize the two windows side by side. Click on the close and minimize the pop-up window to make the instruction window a little bit bigger. So next, we are going to explore the environment that's been created for us. Let's first open the EC2 console by typing EC2 in the service search box and click on EC2. And we get a lot of API errors, and if we click on launch instance and launch instance, and we will notice that we'll get error message to retrieving image information. And for the key pair, if we select the drop down, we will get error message say you're not authorized to perform this operation. So this indicates that we don't have EC2 related permissions to launch an instance. Go to S3 by type S3 into the service box and click on S3. And there are actually 3 buckets and we have insufficient permissions to access them. So next we are going to review the identity and access management policy for this account. Type IAM and select IAM. And we have a bunch of error messages as well, one of which is this access denied to this get account summary action. That's fine. Let's go to user groups and click on developer group. And for that group, there's a user, dev user is being assigned. Click on permissions and expand the developer group policy. So this is the policy that's being attached to the group. and then inherited by the dev user. So select the policy and paste it into a node tab. So I open new notepad and paste the policy here. I'll save it. Save it as, and go to my local directory. Call it as developer group policy.json. Save it. And also keep it opened. So let's quickly review this policy. In fact, so as you can see, it has a bunch of IAM policies. Basically, all the get operations are allowed, get and list operations. So for S3, you can list a bucket and create a bucket, and there's no EC2 actions allowed. Therefore, as a implicitly deny, this particular user will not have any actions to perform on EC2 resources, as we have observed. Since this user has access to create bucket, let's go ahead and do that. Let's go back to S3. Click on S3. Click on create bucket. Let's use your own initial hyphen and random number. Make sure it's you in the US East 1. And as you can see, by default, ACLs are disabled and all access are private. So leave it as is and click on create bucket. Encryption warning, that is fine, that is expected. So the bucket has been successfully created. So clicking into the bucket, and we try to upload the file by clicking on upload and click on add files and select the developer group policy that we have just created and click on upload. And we got this upload failed message. And if we look down here under the arrow, click on the access denied, we see the error is that we don't have permission to upload the file because of access denied. So let's review the policy again for S3, right? So we can create a bucket, list buckets, put bucket ownership controls, etc. But we don't have any object level access such as put object, which is required to upload a file. So next, let's try repeat the same steps in the other buckets. So let's minimize this and go to bucket 1. So we close it, we click on buckets and click on the bucket as a bucket 1 in the name. So select the checkbox beside image 1 and click on download, and we get the access denied message. And let's click on back and back again, and this time let's select bucket 2. There's one file called image1.jpg. Select this and click on download. Again, we got the same error message, access denied. Go back. So let's open the policy again. So basically, as we just discussed, right? So there's no S3 action allowed at object level. Therefore, to get object and put object are implicitly denied in this case. And next, we're going to switch row by click on this drop down arrow. Click on switch row. So click on switch row. So besides, let's cancel this first. And let's do it again. So click on the drop down. Here, beside the account ID, copy the 12-digit account ID, and then click on switch row. Click on switch row. Paste the account ID row. Enter buckets access row. Leave the display name field blank and click on switch row. And then let us go to bucket 1 by click on buckets and click on bucket 1. Select image2.jpg and click on download. And this time we have successfully downloaded the image. So open this file and copy over to my temporary location. Right, and we'll double check it. CD. So we do actually download the image. Let's close it. So next, let us go to the IAM console by typing IAM in the service box and click on IAM. As you can see, I got more errors than before. If I click on user groups, I got this error message meaning that I don't have access to view the groups. So therefore, after I assume the role, my previous permissions as a dev user are no longer being allowed. So in that case, I need to switch back to dev user by click on here again and click on switch back. Now I get the same message as before, and if I click on user groups, I can now see all the information as I did before. So let's examine the bucket access row by clicking on the rows. And here we will search bucket and click on bucket access row. And as you can see, there are 3 policies being attached to it. Let's examine this list all bucket policy. So as you can see, this policy, the allow policy, right, allows anyone who assumes that row the ability to list all buckets. And for the bucket 1 access, it has a specific grant bucket 1 access. It has a specific explicitly allow on bucket 1 the actions of getting object, listing object, and list bucket. So whoever has this row being assumed can actually, in this case, can get all the objects from bucket 1. So that's the explicitly allowed being defined here. Another thing needs to be noticed is the trust relationship. Click on Trust Relationship tab, and as you can see, the STS assume row action, the principal is user dev user, right? And it's allow effect. This basically means that allow dev user to assume this particular row. So next, let's assume the bucket access row again. This time, click on drop down and just click on the row history and click on the bucket access row at the account ID. So let's go to the S3 console and choose bucket 2. Choose bucket 2 here. So right now there's only image1.jpg. So we're going to upload the image 2 that we just downloaded. Add file, image 2, and click on upload. Yes, the image file has been uploaded. So here's the question. So as we saw previously that we have an explicit allow on bucket 1, therefore this row has access to get object from bucket 1, but we have not specified any permissions for bucket 2. Then how come this row has a permission to upload file to bucket 2? So this is actually implemented using a resource-based policy that we are going to examine next. So let's close this and click on permissions. And we will see under the bucket policy, there are actually two statements here. One is the S3 white and the other is list bucket. So these are the bucket policy, which is a type of resource-based policy. And as you can see, the statement S3 white has a allow effect on principal the bucket access row, and action includes get object and put object on this specific bucket 2. So this statement actually is an explicitly allow rule to allow this row to upload that download file to this bucket. So with that, we completed task 6. Now we move on to this challenge task. Let us switch back by click on here and click on switch back to dev user again. So this time we are going to work on bucket 3. So here we click on bucket 3 and we try to upload a file. Add files and select image 2 and click on upload. And again we got the same access denied error message. So let us check the bucket policy to see if is anything there. Let's click on permissions. And as you can see, we don't have access to view the bucket policy. And again, let's assume the bucket access row by click on this under the row history. And click on bucket history. We don't, with this row, we don't even have permission to list object. And can we upload object? No, we cannot do anything. However, if we click on permissions, we do have access to view the bucket policy. And if we look at this policy, it also has two statements. One is the list bucket, the other is the S3 white, similar to the policy, bucket policy on bucket number 2. As you can see, this time we have a explicitly allow rule, but the principal is this row, the other bucket access row. So let's go here. And in another word, in order for a user to be able to upload file or download file from bucket 3, the user need to assume this other bucket access row. So that's the thing we need to do. So let's go back here, click on switch back. And as a dev user, click on here again, click on switch row. Select the account and row, paste or type other bucket access row, leave the display name blank and click on switch row. And go back to bucket 3 and click on upload and click on add files. Double click on image to upload it and click on upload again. Now this time we successfully upload the file to the bucket. With that, we conclude today's lab. So finally, don't forget to sign out from the management console, as well as click on end lab and click on yes to terminate the lab environment, and wait until this icon beside AWS turns into red to indicate that the lab environment has been successfully terminated. So with that, we conclude today's video.